This year, Call of Duty passed over 1,000 camos in its history for multiplayer, 1,000 plus camos since COD 4 to where we are now. Some of those were added in admittedly through cross progression, in the way that you can use zombies camos in multiplayer through Cold War and Vanguard, but our total since the ability to add camos to your multiplayer weaponry is now roughly 1,138 camos, with the largest chunk surprisingly coming within Vanguard. The double 100-100 for multiplayer and zombies really boosted that, though it's followed closely behind with Infinite Warfare introducing 194 camos in its year of support. So with 1,138 camos in COD history, what are the rarest camos out there? That's what we're going to be discussing here today as we take a look across the vast number of them to which ones you may actually have and didn't even realize they were incredibly rare. So as we go along, drop your thoughts below. How many of these camos do you have? Or perhaps oppositely, how many of these camos did you just not even know existed? If you enjoyed the video, you'll find it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on the video. And if you're new to the channel, do be sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated with all things Call of Duty, whether that be Warzone, loadouts, tips and tricks, to Modern Warfare 2 coverage upcoming, and even some fun retrospectives like this. If you're interested in joining our community, I'd love to have you. But for now, let's take a look at the rarest camos in COD history. Let's start with some of the ones that are technically really rare, but honestly, a lot of you actually may have, these being some timed exclusives and timed rewards. A couple of these surprisingly actually came within the last year here or so within Vanguard and the Warzone side of things. Firstly, let's start out with the Snakebite camo, this being one from Vanguard. This was something that is considered rare because it was only available for one specific day. For those that follow the Call of Duty League, you may be familiar with the fact that they do viewership rewards for those that link their Call of Duty account and their YouTube accounts. From there, you end up getting credit for X amount of watch time for things like calling cards, emblems, double XP tokens, and the big stuff they usually give out is blueprints. But for Major 2, the second major of the CDL 2022 season, at the 1 hour mark of watch time on Championship Sunday, you were able to obtain the Snakebite camo. So when you look at the grand scheme of things and how you could obtain this, you had to watch at least 1 hour of about a maybe 6 to 7 hour day of coverage for the Call of Duty Major, the final closing matches of that specific major. If you missed that day for whatever reason, or you only caught like 45 minutes of it, you weren't able to get this camo. So in the grand scheme of things, it was a very small window of time that you could end up obtaining this. In a similar fashion, the next camo of this list comes down to one that wasn't available for only a couple of hours, but instead was available for a 24-hour window, but that being something you had to log in to actually get this. This being the Frosted camo within Infinite Warfare. Frosted camo was the 10th day reward for the 12 Days of Winter, a series of day-long events in Infinite Warfare's main year of support where you could end up getting free items. Things like calling cards, keys, salvage, weapon variants and all, but one thing that was universal for all weaponry was the Frosted camo. The only camo of that, in fact, that we could end up getting. And again, if you did not log in on PlayStation, Xbox, PC, wherever you played Infinite Warfare, on that specific day, you were not able to obtain that camo. So again, very limited time in the grand scheme of things, but being that it was available to everyone, you may in fact have it. Now, widening that scope for when things were available, recently Vanguard introduced our first rewards in regards to events out of the last 3 years that offered camos. Every single season, we get at least one seasonal event in which usually there'll be a blueprint reward for completionist items and things like that. But for this most recent one, the Mercenaries of Fortune Season 4 event, we actually had the ability to earn 2 camos that were universal for all weapons in Vanguard just by simply completing a few easy challenges. One of which I believe was 50 kills on the new Fortune's Keep Warzone map, and another was 200 kills in the Storage Town Point of Interest in Caldera. But to do that, you had a span of 2 weeks time, not just 24 hours, so it was definitely achievable and something you could absolutely do. So they're rare because they're no longer available. They were not available beforehand, but it is quite possible you could end up having these. Now, when we talk about limited time camos, the only other examples here that we really have for this come down to Black Ops 3, because in Black Ops 3, supply drop camos were unfortunately a thing in that game, and a lot of them were paired out for individual weapons in which you had to get the camo multiple times for multiple different weapons on certain classes and things like that. So fundamentally, the way you got extra camos in Black Ops 3 kind of sucked to begin with, but a lot of camos were also available in supply drops for a limited time, making it even harder to get those certain items. Most of the referenced ones we'll breeze past here ended up having about a week limited time availability where you could open up supply drops and at any point during that week you could end up getting that camo, but that was about it. So you're playing the RNG game plus also in a limited time overall. The only one that isn't here out of this list was the Watermelon camo, which was available on July 4th of 2017. Again, a 24-hour window that you had to redeem redeem that, but outside of that, additional limited time camos in Black Ops 3 came down to the Bloody Valentine camo, available for the Valentine's Day event, lasting the week there with that. Cherry Fizz, which is a great looking camo, but again, unfortunately was a limited time offer for an entire week. Empire, the sort of royalty looking camo, similar to the royalty camo from Advanced Warfare. Hive, a honeycomb looking camo. Into the Void, my personal favorite, and honestly, I argue with myself if it's actually the case, but I would say this is probably one of my favorite, if not my most favorite Call of Duty camo of all time. That was available only for a week as well. The Luck of the Irish for St. Patrick's Day in 2017 was available for a week, and Permafrost available in March of 2018, outside of that main year support for Black Ops 3, back when Infinite Warfare was the main title at that point. That had a week of exclusive availability as well. So some stuff that was definitely lost to the test of time, and if you didn't redeem them or get your hands on them in those time periods, you're probably never going to see them again. Now, let's move on to some more exclusive and rarer territory, because while these exclusive redemption windows of a day to a week or two is absolutely something that's hard to come by and to achieve, there are camos that are 10 times rarer than what we'd see with those. Starting out, let's go with the classic here, one that you'll probably recognize anywhere, Spectrum camo from Call of Duty Ghosts. Now, this was something that was available for those that digitally pre-ordered the game on, I want to say, the Microsoft Store, but one also way that many other players did this was by getting redemption codes here for this in a sort of spoofed manner. This was available also not only just outside of the digital ordering, but also available for those who are GameStop employees. There's a training site and hub that GameStop and a bunch of other companies used called, I think it was Experience Zone, where we'll give you like this sort of quiz on Microsoft related items, and it was really straightforward, really simple, but once you ended up doing that, you got like, I want to say 3 codes each time you did it that you could give to yourself or to friends or family, but it was limited in quantity, to which Spectrum only had about 5,000 codes in the entire world. So that was something that if you ended up getting Spectrum, I ended up having it. It was absolutely one of the most coveted camos in Call of Duty's history at that time, and still I'd say to this day is. Unfortunately, this was also back if you played on 360, that you were still on local drive based saving, and those camos didn't transfer from generation to generation. So for me, it was on Xbox 360 and on a hard drive that I no longer have, so that's lost to the test of time as well for me. But if you had Spectrum, you were absolutely an owner of one of the rarest camos in COD history. Next, we're going to talk about 2 that are relatively recent, but honestly, I'd say are probably 2 of the rarest camos overall, in terms of like, if we take this list and condense it down to a top 5, I think both of these would be included in that list. Those being the Banded and the Active camo for Modern Warfare 2019. One being the sort of Activision Ambassador logo and branded shield pattern on a camo, but then also one being a sort of rainbow going down the side of your weapon. Both of these were available only to those that were Activision Ambassadors, and I don't even think that those that were Activision Ambassadors were guaranteed this. I think they were like a top level Activision Ambassador camo. So for this, you had to sign up, go through a bunch of different help forums, answering questions the community had about any specific thing for Call of Duty and Activision games, and then eventually some players were awarded this camo. But again, being that it was something that you had to go through this process of becoming an ambassador, you had to go through this process of proving yourself as a helpful member in the community, it was something that not many people had. I'd probably say maybe a couple of hundred out there if I were to guess, but definitely some of the rarest camos here that we've seen in COD history, and being that we've moved past Modern Warfare 2018, being that we're now into Vanguard and soon to be Modern Warfare 2, you're not going to see those given out anymore at all. I will say with these and others, there have been players that use unlock tools to get this, but chances are if you see one legit, it's one of the rarest camos in the world. After that, we're going to talk about one of my personal favorites here, just because I love the camos in Black Ops 3 and the aesthetic of them, but also it's like one of few camos that I can kind of brag about having, just because I don't have many of these myself. This being the COD XP camo. This, as the name suggests, was only granted to a couple of hundred, maybe about 1,000 or a couple thousand players across the world. This being an exclusive camo to those that attended COD XP in 2016, the event that showcased COD champs, but also then showed off a little bit of Modern Warfare Remastered, Infinite Warfare Zombies, and had playable demos for all of that. A little bit of a sort of expo for Call of Duty thrown by Call of Duty. This camo being slightly animated, not anything over the top like you'd see with Into the Void or something like that, but with a slight animated effect to the XP version and the sort of highlights of that camo. It just looked great, simple and sleek if you ask me. Another camo that was exclusive to Call of Duty XP attendees was the Jackal Urban camo in Infinite Warfare. This is one that when you looked around for it back in the day, it was really hard to find an answer as to how people ended up having it. And I think honestly to this day, there's still really not a whole ton of information out there on this camo, but that's because it is so exclusive. Again, only available to a couple of hundred, a couple of thousand players across the entire world. Now, one that was really rare in limited quantity, but is absolutely something you may have by comparison to those last two, is the Takeout camo from Black Ops 3. Carl's Jr. and Hardee's ended up partnering up with Call of Duty to do some promotion back in the day before Black Ops 3 ended up launching. One thing that they did was offer redemption codes for certain orders you end up getting. Now, they were randomized and you could get duplicates of it, but there were, I think, like 6 items from the Carl's Jr. and Hardee's sort of pack of items you could end up getting, and one of them was the Takeout camo. If you have it, it still holds up today as one of the rarest camos in COD history. Next, we'll talk about the Warcry camo from Call of Duty Ghosts. This one, Call of Duty Ghosts had some pretty cool camos if you ask me, some static camos, of course, nothing animated at that point, but this was one that was rare because it was awarded to players in multiplayer by winning a clan war in the Diamond Division. So while that seems kind of straightforward, you got to realize how much actually went into each of those steps. Number one, it required you to be in a clan, an active clan at that. Number two, it required you to play in clan wars with that team and then rank up to Diamond Division, one of the higher upper echelons of clan wars. And then you had to win a clan war in Diamond Division. So there was a lot that really went into this. And honestly, if you got it, it was a pretty big badge of honor back in the day. And I'd still say is. Probably one of the coolest looking camos as well. There was also a lower tier variant of it for those that I think just participated in a clan war, but if you have that one, you have a bit of COD history. Finally, rounding out our sort of exclusive rewards, let's talk about some COD history in and of itself. These next two being from Modern Warfare 3. Number one, the Marine camo. This was one that was available for Wii exclusives. If you didn't realize, yeah, Modern Warfare 3 was on the Wii way back in the day, and I want to say it was the only Call of Duty title that was on the Wii. I could be wrong on that, but for those that had the Wii, you had access to the Marine camo, something that nobody else really did, unless you had a Call of Duty Elite Premium membership, I think, for a limited time. And then also the Winter camo in Modern Warfare 3 was available if you were a Call of Duty Elite founding member, one of the first people to sign up for that subscription-based service within Modern Warfare 3. Elite was really cool back in the day and offered some really cool stuff, but the Winter camo is one of those things that set you apart from all the other members that were there back in the day. So those things considered, there are definitely some pretty rare camos out there in regards to exclusives and how you obtained them in COD history. But again, let's end this video on a more plausible sort of note for a lot of players. Stuff there may be more of, but maybe that's doubtful, though both these last two we'll talk about can still be earned to this day. It just might take you a bit more time than you'd like. Let's talk about some camos awarded through grinding. Now, there's a lot of them in COD history. I mean, it's absolutely a feat in and of itself if you're in the 1 to 5% of players each year who end up getting the Mastery camos for like Dark Matter, Exclusion Zone, Black Sky, Damascus, Atomic, and such. Even Obsidian to a degree, though that one's only weapon specific. All it takes you is to grind out that weapon, get gold, and then you can go for Obsidian. You don't have to go for Platinum or Damascus, but I'd say there are a few grinded camos that are well above the rest. And it also helps that the player numbers weren't the greatest the years that we're talking about, so they may be even rare just because of that. But firstly, Arctic Wolf camo from Modern Warfare Remastered. Now, Arctic Wolf to me is by far the biggest grind of any camo that we'd see within Call of Duty in organic unlocks, or kind of. There was a potential monetary component to it if you bought supply drops and you got items and or salvage out of that, but for the sake of the purity of the road to the unlock and describing the method to getting it, we're not going to factor in a single dime that players may have spent for supply drops. Arctic Wolf was the overall reward for Operation Arctic Wolf, one of the year-long events or sort of operations of content. That is one thing that I will give Modern Warfare Remastered. It was smack dab in the middle of the absolute disaster that was the monetization of supply drops. But unlike Black Ops 3 the year before, where every single item from day one to the last day of support, it was all in the same loot pool, turning your odds to get what you want to be astronomically low, at least Modern Warfare Remastered made separate loot pools for different operations, so you could actually go for specific event and operation rewards. Arctic Wolf was an operation that was comprised of 64 collections, each collection varying from like 5 to 8 different items. Conservatively, you'd need to wager your luck and get about 320 items, and a high end of that being like 512 items, which would equate to about 107 supply drops at the lowest, 170 supply drops at the highest, but that would be if you got duplicate protected supply drops, which didn't exist in Modern Warfare Remastered. So with hours of playtime involved in getting one singular supply drop, it would take you days of grinding to unlock every single item for every single collection to then unlock Arctic Wolf in Modern Warfare Remastered, thus to me making it one of the largest grinds here that you could have within Call of Duty history and making it one of the rarest camos as a result. And finally, the last camo we'll talk about is another huge grind here, that being Chrome Tiger from Call of Duty World War II. Now, we've had Dark Matter, Exclusion Zone, and Black Sky before World War II introduced what was Chrome as its mastery camo, but then there was that step higher of Chrome Tiger. This was a progressive step for grinders. Chrome, of course, you had to get gold on every single weapon, get that diamond, but to get Chrome Tiger, you had to get Gold Leopard as well as Gold Cheetah. Gold Leopard required you to get 25 double kill medals after reaching Weapon Prestige 3. So you had to reset your weapon, rank it up fully, and unlock every single attachment 3 times to just make that eligible to be a challenge you could do. And then Gold Cheetah was earned by getting 25 triple kill medals and 100 headshot medals after reaching Weapon Prestige 4. So you had to do it another time on top of that. So instead of just getting gold for all weapons, you had to get gold on every single weapon, prestige every single weapon 4 times, go through a gauntlet of additional challenges, and then you'd finally have Chrome Tiger. So it was way more convoluted than Black Sky, Obsidian, Damascus, Atomic, any other camo grind we've seen organically. And for that, it makes it, to me, the rarest camo in the organic mastery camo section. But that said, what can we say is maybe the singular rarest camos? We talked about maybe whittling it down to a top 5. I'd say given the limited quantity, Bandit and Active Camo absolutely number 1 and 2. COD XP and Jackal Urban I'd probably say are up there as well, because those were only available for those that attended COD XP. And then I'd probably say Spectrum Camo. Maybe Arctic Wolf being that it is something that's still available to this day. We don't quite know how many are out there. Spectrum had a limited number of 5,000 codes available for the entire world, so number 5 may be a little bit more of a seesaw back and forth. But that is the rarest camos that we've seen in COD history out of the 1,138 across COD history. So that said, that is where we're going to wrap it up. I would love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. How many of these do you have? How many did you not know existed? Whatever the case, drop your thoughts below. But if you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on the video. And if you're new to the channel, do be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay there with all things Modern Warfare 2 coverage upcoming, Warzone coverage currently, and even some fun retrospective stuff like this. If you guys would like to join the community and join us on that road to 500,000 subscribers, I'd love to have you. But for now, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.